As an extraterrestrial pop band are abducted by a greedy executive who intends on rebranding them as the Crescendos, marketing them with a completely new image from an earthly audience, a space pilot takes it upon himself to save the band with the plan to return them back to their home planet. This is Kazuhisa Takenouchi's Interstella 5555, the story of the secret star system, a feature-length anime film that complements the second studio album from Daft Punk, Discovery, bringing their French house origins inspired by Detroit House towards a more pop and mainstream audience with its heavy inspiration from disco music. Accompanied by iconic dance music, Interstella is a visually told film with no dialogue, depicting the exploitative nature of the music industry, a very real-world issue that many artists have been highly vocal of, and to the challenge of returning to one's own roots, applicable both to the creative artists caught in a rut, intent on returning back to their original style, and to the person in the audience who feels at a loss of their own sense of identity. It's difficult to discuss Interstella without discussing the impact of Daft Punk's album Discovery. Daft Punk has suggested that Discovery was intent on reflecting the playfulness of the music that the duo listened to in their childhood, facing critical acclaim. The album reached the number 2 position on the music charts in the UK and France, becoming named as one of the greatest albums of the 2000s by Pitchfork. The disco house influence of Discovery is clearly present even in today's landscape of dance music, from the disco camp inflections of many hyperpop producers and musicians, to the clear anime-inspired aesthetic of sample-heavy future funk. Daft Punk's own personal childhood nostalgia for science fiction and anime is what led to the creation of Interstellar by collaborating with the film's supervisor and manga artist Leiji Matsumoto. The film was developed, many of its sequences used as music videos for the singles from Daft Punk's Discovery, and vice versa, in which the entirety of Discovery serves as the film's soundtrack. By avoiding any reliance on dialogue, Interstellar proves to be a purely visually told narrative, relying on its spectacular aesthetic and swiftly paced sequences to tell its story of a band forced into an exploitative rebranding, treating them as prisoners of a manipulative executive, with the secretive history of capturing the most talented musicians across the galaxy, forcing them to perform for his own gain. By avoiding dialogue, all attention is spent on crafting visually distinct imagery that is bound to captivate the imaginations of the viewer. An entire planet of peace-loving aliens dancing to universally appealing music. The mechanical futurism of rebranding the band, from their new skin tones to their outfits, travelling through a psychedelic dimensional rift with the goal of saving the musicians. Each sequence seems enthusiastically created as a tribute to a love for science fiction aesthetics, as well as aiming to create a universal tale spanning galaxies which promotes a love of music from far distant lands, similar to Daft Punk's and many other musicians' own fascination for a wide variety of music. The film is clear in its depiction of the exploitation of musicians in the recording industry, the burnout it causes, and the liberation of artists freed from exploitative contracts and manipulation. And while Interstellar never fails to shy away from the escapist spectacles of its science fiction visuals, the depiction of control over recording artists holds a believable relevancy when considering how figures in pop music have been vocal of their own experiences of being exploited, from Kesha's public lawsuit against producer-songwriter Dr. Luke regarding his hyper-control over her recording process, as well as the sexual assault and battery she had suffered at his hands, to Taylor Swift's own struggles with Scooter Braun, who Taylor Swift acknowledged as an incessant manipulative bully after the acquisition of the master recordings of her first 6 studio albums, motivating her to re-record those early studio albums, taking control from the exploitative. It's very clear that the recording industry still has many issues in regards to treating its artists fairly, and for as infectious and fun as Interstellar may be, it proves a sobering reflection to spend much of its focus on the exploitation of its fictitious extraterrestrial band. as the Crescendos rediscover their true extraterrestrial identity, restoring their wiped memories with the intention to return to their home planet. These actions aren't dissimilar to a musician's return to form after a sudden career swerve. Whether an artist is returning to the genre and sound which initially placed them on the listener's radar, or aims to move away from the limelight, the Crescendos returning to their home planet is reminiscent of an artist rediscovering their own identity. This could be extended to an even more universal interpretation. Any viewer who has experienced discovering something new about themselves and their identity is bound to relate easily to the satisfaction of returning to one's own origins. The celebratory nature of the Crescendos' return to their home planet is embraced across the galaxy, on their home planet and even Earth, where their performance is broadcast. The universal celebratory nature of Interstella's conclusion is certainly reminiscent of rediscovering one's own roots, whether as an artist or as a stepping stone in one's own personal journey. In conclusion, Interstella 5555, the story of the secret star system, is a nostalgic tribute to Daft Punk's love for anime, science fiction, and music, embracing a hyper-stylized house musical approach to its tale of intergalactic musicians and their aim to return home. But the film also reflects how the issues of exploitation within the recording industry are still a commonplace problem, while also embracing the personal growth of musicians and even of the viewer in their self-discovery and reconnection with their heritage, identity, and origins. It's understandable why Interstella continues to captivate Daft Punk and anime fans. If nothing else, its sense of style is undeniable. A special thank you to my incredible tier Patreon supporter Gil, and my super tier Patreon supporters Constantine Bombelli and Victoria.